Welcome back to the 11th devlog from my game Ghostblaster. If you're enjoying these devlogs, please hit the subscribe and like buttons. I really appreciate the support. So, first up this time, I've made the decision that Ghostblaster is going to be a mobile game. The PC version may come as well, but the initial release will be on mobile. Therefore, I decided that I better have a look at how Godot exports to mobile devices. As this being my first full Godot project, I've never done it before. I had a read of the documentation and the whole process turned out to be pretty straightforward. The setup involved downloading Android Studio and the Android SDK. As well as this, I also needed to download OpenJDK 8. Once these were installed, the next task was to create a debug keystore file, which was created by running a simple command on the command line, which you can see here. After this, it was then just a case of setting up the paths to the various file locations of the stuff that I just downloaded. Here you can see them all filled in the project settings. I next exported the game to check that everything was set up correctly and loaded it into my Android device. Everything worked perfectly and the game loaded. However, now that it was on a touchscreen device, I obviously could no longer control the character, so it was now time to add touch controls. I downloaded Kenny's on-screen control pack and set to work adding them to my game. First off, I added a new canvas layer node to hold the controls. I then imported the buttons that I wanted to use from Kenny's pack and added these as textures to 4 touchscreen button nodes that I added as children of the canvas layer. Here you can see these 4 buttons added to the game. I exported the game again now with the buttons added, and here you see it running on an Android device. The buttons are currently too big and the camera positioning will need improving, but the game is now running and controllable on a mobile device. For now, I'm happy with this. Next on the agenda was to create another type of enemy following on from the ghosts that I showed last time. I decided that this was going to be a knight that carried a bomb, that stands still till it detects the player, then sets off running in the player's direction. When it comes into contact with the player, it dies and kills the player. Here's a demo of the finished enemy in the game. Still needs some work like explosions adding, but the basic functionality is all in place. Let's take a look at the scene of the enemy. You can see that the scene is very similar to the ghosts that I created previously. The main difference is that I've added an area 2D and named it Player Detector. This is used to detect the player and fires a signal when a physics body enters it, which is then checked in the code as to whether the physics body is the player or not. Let's take a quick look at the code for the knight enemy. As you can see, it's very similar to the previous ghost script. I've added a bool to toggle on and off when the knight is moving, and it only moves the enemy when this gets set to false when it detects the player. I have a function that's called face the player that checks whether the player is to the left or to the right of the enemy and makes the enemy face that direction, so the detector's facing the player. Then there's the function that's called when a physics body enters the detector, which checks if it's the player that's entered, and if so, changes the bools that then mean the enemy starts to move. The other thing that I've been working on is adding secret rooms to the game. I want these to encourage the player to explore the levels. Here you see an innocent looking wall, but when you jump into it, magically it disappears to reveal a secret room. Then, when you move out of the room, it becomes hidden again. I made a tween effect to fade the visibility of the room in and out. I intend for these rooms to have hidden parts of the amulet that you need to collect and also hidden treasures that the player will have to collect. Here's a secret room in Godot. I've made it using a tile map which I've named Fake Solid. I've then added an area 2D in collision shape which is used to detect the player. There's also a tween node that's used to fade the tile map in and out. I've used the area's 2D built-in body entered and body exited signals that are then connected to a script on the tile map that deals with these signals. Next I'll show the code that handles this. Here's the script on the Fake Solid tile map that hides the rooms. You can see there are 2 functions which both work in the same sort of way. They're called by either a physics body entering or exiting the area 2D. They both check if this physics body is the player, and if so then they tween the modulate value of the tile maps. In the case of the enter function from 1 to 0 over half a second, then in the case of the exit one from 0 to 1 over half a second.